terrific event. We appreciate the attendance of our friends from ESPN, CBS, and ASN. Appreciate all they do for us all year. We have the best media companies in the world televising our games and promoting our brand. We welcome the many bowl reps who are here. We always enjoy seeing them every year. We have 8 bowl tie-ins this year in outstanding destinations against top competition. We'll be playing the so-called P5 5 times in bowl games this year. And it's always, of course, gratifying to see how many of our friends in the media attend this event. And we appreciate all you do for college sports, for our student athletes, and for the great coverage you give us. Steve Hatchell, who is CEO of the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame, is again here with us. And Steve has a vital role in promoting and defending our great game of football in the face of its challenges. We applaud his efforts and his passion for the college game. And I might add, we all love college football. But college football and pro football are under significant siege right now in so many ways. And we have to defend this great game. And Steve does a wonderful job organizing those efforts. We're pleased to welcome here Gina Leahy today, Senior Director of Communications and Brand Management for the College Football Playoff. As you know, we ended up with 3 teams. A quarter of our conference ended up in the final ranking of the College Football Playoff. And we applaud the committee's work, not just because they rank us, but because they do a great job. And I also want to I take great pride in congratulating 2 of our athletic directors on winning very significant awards and recognition. Chet Gladchuk is a recipient of the National Football Foundation Hall of Fame's prestigious John L. Toner Award as Athletic Director of the Year. And Pat Kraft of Temple was named a 40 under 40 award recipient by the Sports Business Journal, and those are really, really distinguished honors. I want to recognize the University of Houston Athletics Communication Office and Associate Athletic Director David Bassity, as the Cougars office was cited by the Football Writers Association of America with its Super 11 Award as one of the best in NCAA football bowl subdivision during the 2015 season, and it's the 2nd honor for this department in the last 4 years, so congratulations. Before I get to the substance of the speech, last but not least, I want to pay a special tribute to retired UCF coach George O'Leary, who enjoyed a wonderful coaching career and built that program and built it the right way. His players' collective APR was always at the top of our conference, and I will always remember the Fiesta Bowl executives back in 2014 on that podium telling me that George's team was the greatest group of kids they had hosted. They said they were the nicest group. I could not have been prouder. This conference will always owe a great debt of gratitude to George and that particular team for giving us instant credibility with an 11-win season and a resounding victory over 5th-ranked Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl. George was one of our league's biggest supporters when we needed that support the most. He believed what we could quickly become. He was colorful and committed, and he produced great teams over the years. And we wish him and his family a happy retirement. I cannot stand here this morning and ignore the recent Big 12 news regarding realignment. And although I do want to address it at the outset, I'm not going to dwell on it. That would be a disservice to our conference and to the outstanding student athletes and coaches who are here with us today. Big 12 expansion, if it happens, and it appears probable, will again change the landscape of college athletics, may well have an impact on our conference. As presently constituted, the American is a Power 6 conference and has earned that designation. We have been incredibly competitive. 2 top 10 finishes in 3 years, 2 enormous bowl wins in the Fiesta and Peach Bowl in 3 years, 4 teams in the top 25 at various times last year, 3 in the final college football playoff rankings, a national championship in men's basketball, 3 national championships in women's basketball for the UConn Huskies, and of course the men's championship for the UConn Huskies. And they've won 4 in a row, but 1 was in the old Big East. But if you look at what we've done, there is no question that we have been as competitive as any conference in the country. 10 so-called P5 wins last year, including some enormous ones. In Temple, a near win over Notre Dame in one of the biggest games of the year. Almost 6 million viewers on ESPN. The fact that virtually all of our schools are the main focus of all this realignment talk speaks to our strength. It speaks volumes about us and who we are and what we've become. Although perception of our conference may change somewhat as a result of further realignment, and I say may, that will be temporary, as I can assure you that our success is going to continue. Regardless of what may happen, we're going to return most of our membership and our schools that have been high achieving and have made incredible progress. This progress is not going to be interrupted. We're going to get right back to work building the league if something does happen. 3 years ago, as you know, there was skepticism, and look what we've accomplished, even under the shadow of near constant realignment speculation over the last few years. Our ambition and commitment to be a Power 6 conference will always remain strong. And that function, incidentally, is not that moniker is not a function of legislative autonomy, the arrangement you have with those 5 conferences, which is somewhat self-selected. It represents achievement and competitiveness on the field and court, and we have excelled competitively. We had a great season last year, as you know, a memorable season. As a 12-team league with the addition of Navy, we played in divisions for the first time. We saw exciting division races come down to the wire. We staged our inaugural football championship game at the home site of our winningest team, the Houston Cougars. Had a great crowd. Temple faced Houston in that championship game. The stakes could not have been higher. A trip to New Year's Day, a national TV audience on ABC watched, and Houston prevailed in obviously a hard-fought game. The Cougars then went on to defeat 9th-ranked Florida State in the Peach Bowl, tying a ribbon around what was a magical season for this conference. As I said, 2 major bowl wins, UCF Baylor and Houston Florida State in 3 years. A top 10 football team in 2 of our first 3 years. All the other things I mentioned, Houston finished number 8 in the AP final poll. In my opinion, should have even been higher. UCF finished 10th in the 2013 AP final poll. The 10 P5 wins I alluded to, and the championships we've won. Incidentally, we've had 7 NCAA tournament baseball teams collectively. In 2015 and 16, we had a golf individual champion from SMU, Bryson DeChambeau. This conference has been firing on all cylinders and achieved a great deal. I think back to last season, I think back to Keenan Reynolds setting his records. I think of Greg Ward leading Houston to its great season. I think of Tyler Matakevich, who finished off his career 3rd on the NCAA career tackles list. Paxton Lynch rejuvenated Memphis's program. I think of Temple's big win against Penn State, its first since 1941. To Temple's valiant effort against Notre Dame on ABC, a national primetime television audience, capacity crowd at Lincoln Financial. ESPN Game Day was in Philadelphia in front of a huge crowd at Independence Mall. It was a magical morning. Memphis's big win against Ole Miss on a bright sunny day in Memphis, another capacity crowd. Cincinnati's stirring Thursday night win against an undefeated Miami team with a full house at renovated Nippert Stadium. Navy's inaugural game against East Carolina. Again, their first conference game after 134 years of independence. And then their Friday game after Thanksgiving against Houston, a sellout crowd, another ABC national television audience, 5 ABC national games this year, and President Bush 41 did the coin toss, and then finally we had this successful inaugural championship game. And as I said, 5 ABC national telecasts. We had many more great moments and great players. I regret that I just don't have time, obviously, to mention them all. You know, we all know how hard it is to compete in football. It takes resources and facilities. It takes deep coaching and support staff, extensive recruiting, the ability to deal with attrition from injuries and other factors. In some sports, a handful of players can turn around a program, whereas football, as the coach once said, is a corporation. But we've competed successfully, both on a team and on an individual level. And I take enormous pride in our accomplishments. I could talk about them all day. We have forged a Power 6 narrative as a nationally relevant and respected conference. And off the field, we are paying full cost of attendance and doing what the Autonomy 5 are doing in the areas of health and safety, nutrition, and insurance. Besides performance, we meet other pillars. We have incredible TV exposure, as I mentioned. We have many large and important schools in large and important markets. We have schools with outstanding academic reputations. We have a top quality roster of coaches, and we have the highest level of commitment by our schools. I look around the room this morning, and I see why all this happened, and why it's going to continue to happen. I I see outstanding student athletes, and I see a roster of coaches, as I said, that any conference would envy. I see determination and enthusiasm. I see a deep and outstanding league that's going to again make national noise this season. As you know, our name is the American Athletic Conference, and the name American stands for many worthy values. It embodies a competitive spirit which applauds upward mobility, which believes in it, which believes that the underdog can win and take its place in a hierarchy, an aristocracy of merit. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, far better known, of course, as a member of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, echoed these themes in her 2016 NCAA convention keynote address, when she emphasized a fundamental American value, the idea that where you come from does not matter, but where you are going does. Many of our schools have great tradition, but we're not staking our future on the past. Our motto could easily be, forget tradition, we're upwardly molded. Our success has not been confined to a few teams, and to paraphrase from the hit play Hamilton, our league is still young and hungry. Nothing, as you know, has been handed to us. Initially, we had not been given much benefit of the doubt. UCF and Houston were decided underdogs in their New Year's Bowl games, and by now Houston should not have been a decided underdog. But there was pretty strong evidence that they were good teams, and we all know what happened in those games. Again, I am proud of what our student athletes and coaches have achieved, and with determined leadership at all levels, and especially at the top, where our presidents and athletic directors have demonstrated a strong commitment to winning, you can't help but succeed. We built our football programs and our overall athletic programs, and we're doing it the right way. We have high expectations. No challenge has daunted us. Just look at the non-conference schedules these teams have played the past 3 years and are going to play again this year. You'll readily see that we don't back down. We play the best of the best. We have 20-plus games against the so-called P5 and BYU and Notre Dame, and we're not afraid to test ourselves against the best because we want to be the best. The College Football Playoff Committee has noted this to me. They've noted it publicly. They've complimented us on it. We'll continue to play these schedules because that's who we are. We're an elite conference playing the highest level of competition. As Bear Bryant often said, to be a winner, the sacrifices one makes must be great, but the rewards are also great. We have lived that statement in our relatively short history. We never promised ourselves anything but hard work and sweat, and you can see that the sacrifices have paid off. The outlook this year is bright. We've got 8 returning quarterbacks, 8 returning coaches, 4 exciting new coaches, and as I said, a top group of veteran coaches. All of our schools, all of them are on an upward trajectory. Recruiting has been energized across the board. We have big games to test ourselves. Oklahoma, Houston. Florida State is visiting USF. Penn State is Temple's visiting Penn State. Tulsa, Ohio State. UCF, Michigan. Navy, Notre Dame. Cincinnati, BYU. Cincinnati, Purdue. Memphis, Ole Miss. Tulane, Wake Forest. East Carolina will be playing South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and NC State, and that is a tough road. The list goes on. And we know, as I said, this is a very tough slate. But we draw inspiration from President Kennedy's words when he discussed our nation's goal of reaching the moon. We do it not because it's easy, but because it's hard. As I mentioned earlier, I'm extremely proud of our academic accomplishments and of our sportsmanship. We have outstanding student athletes at all of our schools who play hard and with pride and with sportsmanship, who excel in the classroom and contribute to their communities. E.K. Binns of Navy was a Campbell Award finalist. I congratulate Cincinnati for winning our Sports Excellence Award for academic achievement. I've been in various locker rooms to award trophies or simply because I was invited in to meet our student athletes. I love doing it. I love meeting our players. It's a delight to support and congratulate them, and they enjoy seeing the commissioner. The future of our communities and our country is with young men like these and our other young men and women who play our other sports, and also our students who do not play sports, but support those who do and honor their schools by their academic and other successes. Our student athletes have and must remain and be the centerpiece of all that we do. You know, it's very easy, as you know, to lose sight of this with all the day-to-day politics, distractions, the competition for dollars, the occasional bad behavior, scandal, the litigation we face, the intense pressure to win. But through it all, we have to remember why we're doing this. We're doing it for our student athletes, for their education, their well-being, their competitive success, and their preparation for lives of purpose and informed citizenship. I have to remind myself of that many days because, as you know, I have to deal with these issues. We're dealing, obviously, now with the realignment debate. Done a lot of media, and obviously kept in close communication with our coaches and AD and presidents. But we have to remember why we're here. And I also mentioned earlier the competition for dollars. It's real. But while revenue is important, and we all need to provide for our student athletes' well-being, and our goal, incidentally, is to be a high-revenue conference in the future. But we have to remember the last dollar is neither the only measure of success nor the primary. It's neither the only measure of success nor the primary one. Competitive success should matter the most. Sometimes revenue and success are related, sometimes not. But we do not want conferences judged solely on how much revenue they bring in. Money doesn't measure the hearts of our players. Money does not measure their competitive desire, their ability, their performance, and their quality as human beings. I know this season will again produce great games, great performances, thrilling finishes, the drama of exciting competition. We have again terrific opportunities ahead of us against some of the best teams in the country. Our conference divisional races will again be intense. I encourage our fans to support our teams as they did last year. Our attendance was up almost 10%. I appreciate the media coverage that we receive and that we'll continue to receive and to earn. And I thank you very much for the attention you pay to us, and I think you're very fair to us. I appreciate the hard work and dedication of our players and coaches, and especially all of the support staffs. You know, my wife Sharon and I are always warmly received everywhere we go in the conference. And I know that we're observing and experiencing the work of many, many people, some visible and some not so visible. The on-field heroes and the unsung heroes make the wonderful collegiate experience work. We have a priceless heirloom in college football, in college sports. We're celebrating that today. May we always have it, and may we always have college sports amid the challenges we face. I hope all of you have a productive and rewarding media day. I'll be available to answer questions later, and I imagine I will get a few. But again, I do want the focus to be on our student athletes and on our coaches and on our teams and on our schools and on what we've achieved and what we will achieve. But I hope you all enjoy the meeting. I know you'll get to know our players, a terrific group. I wish them all a successful season. I wish all of our teams the kind of success they've had in the past. I think we'll do well again. I know we'll do well again. But in the end, we'll win our share. And I think we've captured the attention of America with the tremendous achievements we've had in this conference. I could not be prouder. I know the people here in this room are proud, but they're also dedicated and they're rededicated to doing what they've done and to taking this conference to even greater heights. And as I said, may we win our share. Thank you again for being here. I really appreciate the time and attention you give our conference, and enjoy Media Day. Thank you.
There's a young woman in a blue dress. She's got a microphone, so for about 10 minutes. And also, after we're done with this, in about 15 minutes, we'll get our coaches up here and begin our roundtables. So.
I'll also be available later for individual talks if anybody has any desire to talk, but I'll take questions from the audience. Dick?
A couple of years ago, most people thought that the national playoffs were just going to be the purview of the 5 conferences. Do you think now that there's a legitimate shot for a non-Power 5 conference to get into the playoffs? And do you think last year's win by Houston may have created a spark?
I absolutely do, Dick. I think there's no question that we have a real shot at the playoff. You know, it's funny, when this thing started, and the playoff started a few years ago, there were people who thought it was confined to 5 teams. I even talked to some media members who said, it's a tough deal for you, you're not eligible for that playoff. And I said, what do you mean? Of course we are. And they said, well, no, it's confined to the 5. And I said, no, that's not true. I think you gain stature and you build credibility and respect. what we've done now, and it wasn't just, you mentioned and you alluded to the big win over Florida State by Houston in the Peach Bowl, but you know, there was the win by UCF against Baylor, but also we had a seminal year last year. We had a big win by Memphis over Ole Miss. We had competitive games up and down, Temple obviously beating Penn State, almost beating Notre Dame. Houston's win 34-0 over Vanderbilt was very impressive. That was a team that was winning in the SEC and almost beat Florida in the Swamp. So I think we've shown the committee that we have really good teams top to bottom, which Dick, I think was really important to do. So I think once you do that, then people respect your conference. You know, for a while there, we had a big non-conference win. We weren't getting the respect in our conference schedule. Now I think people know that you have to run a gauntlet when you play in our conference. And so I think we absolutely, if for instance, I'll give you just a couple of examples. We have a lot of good teams. If Houston, again, should beat Oklahoma and run the table and beat Louisville, I think they should be a playoff team. And if USF beats Florida State and has a great season, I think they should be considered as a playoff team. And we'll have many more of those teams this season. So I don't think there's any question that we're now in that conversation. And incidentally, I did talk to the committee, the College Football Playoff Committee, and I said, I thought some of our teams weren't ranked highly enough last year, to be honest with you. And what I don't want is I call it a grass ceiling, you know, a glass ceiling. I don't want our teams to be hindered because they're not in the so-called, you know, P5 conference. That's why I stressed the P6, the Power 6 concept, because I think it's real. And as I said, if there are any perceptions, they'll be changed very, very quickly because this conference is going to continue to operate on all cylinders. Any other questions? Great. I will definitely, oh wait, I think we may have one back there.
Mark Narducci at Philadelphia Inquirer. You talk about the expansion and everything like that, but how difficult has it been to plan for the future when all this is kind of weighing on you right now?
Well, it's never easy. We went through a more dire situation 3 years ago, and we came through it. We learned some things. We're just going about our business. You know, we have a season ahead of us. It's well planned. We're ready to go. Everything's in place. We've also done contingency planning. We don't talk about what that might be. We don't want to have a public discourse. One of the concerns I've had is that, you know, this was, it wasn't our fault, it wasn't our conference's fault, but it became all too public, and of course it's put enormous pressure on everyone. But we can react quickly because we've been talking about this. We've got open dialogue with our ADs and presidents. We're not shying away from the elephant in the room. We understand that there's an issue here and we have to deal with it, and we have contingency plans. I think we'll adapt pretty quickly. We'll know what we want to accomplish. We're going to want to maintain the strong brand of this conference, and I'm convinced we will. Thank you very much. Thank you.